Welcome to Reparenting Radio. I'm Lisa Watson, a transformational coach, author, and cycle breaker, just like you. This podcast is a sacred space for truth-telling, remembrance, and radical healing. Each week, I share stories, spiritual teachings, and nervous system wisdom to help dismantle disempowering beliefs, break generational cycles, and reclaim our sovereignty. So together, we can build a new world rooted in love and freedom for the generations to come. If you're ready to remember who you are beneath the programming, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome to the very first episode of Reparenting Radio. I'm Lisa Watson, and I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for showing up here, for being curious, and for being open to new ideas and new perspectives. This podcast has been a while in the making, and it's really born from a deep calling in my soul, a call to speak the unspoken and the truth and to create a sanctuary for the cycle breakers, for the people doing the work that their lineage never had the tools or the freedom and the safety to do. And I personally know what it feels like to be spiritually awake and emotionally intelligent and still be stuck in patterns that don't feel like you. So I created this space because I needed it, and I know I'm not alone. This is not a parenting podcast in the traditional sense. It's a reparenting podcast. This is a sacred reclamation of truth, of divinity, and of your sovereign self. And each week, I'm going to be sharing transmissions from the heart, sometimes solo, sometimes with soul-aligned guests, designed to help you remember who you are and reclaim what's always been yours. So let's begin. Let's begin with a question that might already be tugging at you. What is reparenting? Well, to me, reparenting is not about fixing something that is broken. It's not about fixing yourself. It's not about becoming someone new necessarily. It's about remembering the you that existed before the world told you who to be. And for so many of us, that's not even an experience that we've had in this lifetime, because from the time we've been in the womb, we have been picking up programs. So for some of us, it's going back to childhood, and for some of us, it's reclaiming something that we don't even quite remember yet. Reparenting yourself is the work of the inner child. I truly believe that the inner child is the God part of us, and that we need to hold our highest allegiance to our inner child. And I will be speaking on this much more in many episodes to come. Reparenting is about tending to your inner child and at the same time reclaiming your soul's original blueprint. It's about nervous system regulation, emotional attunement, and the most important part, it's about reprogramming your subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind is what is creating our reality. Our belief systems that are held within our subconscious are truly what are the structure of our reality. So the importance of reprogramming our subconscious beliefs is vital if we want to see our outer reality change, because our outer reality is only a reflection of the inner landscape. So the reparenting method is about rewiring the inner landscape so that you can create an outer reality that is more in alignment with the things that you love and desire. Reparenting says, I have the choice to choose differently, and I refuse to pass this down. It ends with me. I refuse to continue with these patterns because I know that I'm the one who chooses my thoughts, who chooses my feelings, and chooses my actions, and I'm going to take responsibility for that now. I'm going to reparent myself, and I'm going to show up differently for myself. That's what makes it sacred. That's what makes it radical. You know, we live in a world that programs us from the moment we arrive, like I said before, or even before, while we're still in the womb, listening, hearing the hormones that are running through us, the tension or the stress, or even the happiness that our mother's feeling is impacting us from the very beginning. And school teaches us to obey, not to wonder. And religion teaches us to fear God instead of remember that we are God in form. Medicine teaches us to medicate our emotions instead of listening to them. And parenting culture teaches us to be good girls and boys, quiet, polite, and disconnected from our authenticity, but well-behaved. And these systems, they weren't designed to make us whole. They were designed to make us manageable. I remember when I realized the life that I had built in 2015, when I got divorced. Here it is, tattooed on my arm, 2015, in Roman numerals for those who can't see this and are only hearing it. But I remember when I realized that the life that I had built, where I was in 2015, was built on survival and old subconscious programs that were no longer serving me. It was built on people pleasing, on performance, on abandoning myself to keep the peace. And that realization really shook me because I thought that I was free. And what I realized that I was still living inside the matrix, so to speak, in my thoughts, in my body, in my relationships. I was acting from belief systems and subconscious programs that I had adopted mainly early in my life. And I was just repeating the loops over and over. And it really shook me because I was like, oh, damn, like it's in the subconscious mind. Like I'm not even aware of what's going on that is causing me to not have the things that I want in my life, the relationships, the money, the work, whatever it is, the freedom. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go on a hunt into the subconscious mind. And that's how I came up with all the things I do now as a coach and this reparenting method. And I'm so grateful for that. So reparenting is how I began to break free. It's how I unplugged from the inner matrix and the outer matrix, and the systems that I had built inside of me. And it allowed me to see the systems that were in place in this matrix that we live in were no longer serving me. And I was able to open myself up to a whole bunch of new options and choices that I didn't see before. And so the reason, truly why reparenting works is because when you begin reparenting yourself, and that means you begin that inner dialogue, you begin speaking to yourself and giving yourself all the things that you wished that your parents had given you. Maybe it was the validation, maybe it was the time, just the acceptance, the love, the holding space, the patience. When you begin to give yourself that, your entire life changes. You stop needing permission to exist. You stop performing to earn love. You start listening to your own self, to your own body, to your own emotions, your own voice, and you become the safe parent that your inner child never had. And you will end up raising children who don't have to recover from their childhoods. I started off my early coaching career heavily focused on parents and conscious parenting because that was the key that I found in reprogramming my subconscious mind, was the understanding that in the first 7 years of childhood is when our subconscious mind is formed, basically, through the experiences, through the words, through the reactions, through the modeled behavior. our subconscious mind is formed in our childhood. So I started nannying. I did some workshop nannying for over 3 years, practicing this conscious parenting on small children that I was caring for, because my children at the time when I started this were in their 20s. They're in their early 30s now. And so I really wanted to practice on little kids in today's world with the challenges that the current parents have in this environment with screens and all the other things like chemicals and food and all that kind of stuff. But as a coach, I have witnessed this transformation through the reparenting method over and over again, not just in my own life, but in the lives of my clients. And through the reparenting method, which, was developed through my life experience, through my lived experience, through my healing journey, through my educational studies and my spiritual remembering, I've been able to help people walk away from toxic relationships and reclaim their voice, to break free from addiction of all kinds and compulsive cycles. I've helped people to rebuild relationships that felt beyond repair, release deep financial blocks that have kept them in scarcity mode. I work a lot with people with anxiety and depression, chronic self-abandonment, people-pleasing, women that are in narcissistic relationships, because that was my experience. A toxic and narcissistic partner for over 28 years. It taught me a lot. It was a really, really great education. And I help people to learn to parent their children with presence instead of patterns from the past, and come back into their bodies with reverence, because the problem isn't who you are. It's what you were programmed to believe. We aren't even these bodies. These are simply avatars. And I want to talk much more about that in episodes to come. And I'm really doing my best to keep this first episode kind of neat and tidy, in just an introduction into the reparenting method. But reparenting it's how we rewire it mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And this work makes nervous system regulation a top priority. It's one of the things I discovered is that during those early years, when we are programmed to disconnect from our authenticity. And what I mean by that is, an example that I like to use is, let's say that you're 2 years old and your family just bought a new white couch, and your mom leaves the room for a couple minutes, and you see this red marker. You grab red marker, maybe you're playing with it at the kitchen table, and you jump down and you go over to that pretty white couch and you start coloring it red. It's so pretty. Mom comes back and whoa, she is not happy at all. And so you get punished. You're told you're bad little girl or bad little boy, naughty, you should know better, we only draw on paper. Who knows, maybe you're 4 or even 5 years old. It doesn't matter. Your subconscious mind is still being formed. And you're being shamed and punished and probably being withheld some love and affection because you simply showed up as your authentic self. And to a child whose frontal lobe, their brains are not developed, they do not understand this at all. And all they hear is, I'm not safe to be my authentic self. Well, when we're not safe, what happens is we go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. And as a 2 to 7 year old, it's your amygdala part of your brain that is working, which is the main driver of the fight, flight, freeze response. And so we end up getting a dysregulated nervous system and getting stuck in fight, flight, or freeze over and over and over and over again from a very, very early age. And this causes us to take on ego, personality traits, and behaviors that are going to get us the attention and the acceptance that we need. Now, that may be hiding an authentic part of ourselves. Maybe we don't feel safe to express the artist in us because this wasn't a one-time event. If a parent's going to treat a child like this for coloring on the couch, they didn't do it just once. It's on a regular basis. They're shaming and using this type of language and behavior, and we're instilling these programs of you're not good enough as you are. You're naughty. You're not deserving. You should have known better. When the reality is we should just be accepting, validating, training, and teaching our child new behaviors without any sort of shame or fear-based programming in there. It should all be done with love. And I will talk much more about that in this podcast in upcoming episodes and on parenting and everything. But because your nervous system is the foundation of your entire reality, when we end up healing our nervous system at the root, everything can shift because we truly are energetic beings living in a holographic reality. And that reality, that projection of experiences that we're having in what look like are out there are really only a rendering that is like derived from the quality of the frequency that our being is holding. And that frequency is affected by our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual state. So the nervous system is a huge part of our frequency and vibration. Our energy frequency is affected by the food that we eat, by the thoughts that we have, and by the emotions that we hold. And so much of this is driven by our subconscious programming. So the most powerful kind of parenting doesn't start with a child. It starts with the adult they live in. Let that sink in. So how do we begin? How do we begin this parenting journey? Well, we start by simply observing and noticing. Awareness is the first step of any healing journey. And you want to pay attention to everything, literally everything, every thought you have, every feeling. You just want to become conscious and become the observer, not the judge, not the critic, just the observer. Where do you feel the need to perform, hide, or shrink? Where are you wearing masks? Where are you people pleasing? Where are you codependent? Where do you not have good boundaries? Where are you telling the truth? Where are you lying? Where are you showing up for yourself or not showing up for yourself? What are all those little thoughts that you're having? What is the dialogue? Whose voice is it? Is that your mother talking to you, your father, your school, your society, your church? Whose voice is that? What is it saying? Is it your authentic self? This is the first step. And then we create space. We create space in the moment. This is real-time healing. Reparenting isn't something you do, once a day or week or on the yoga mat. Reparenting is what we do throughout the day. When we're triggered, when we're feeling anxious or depressed, or when we feel like the thoughts in our head are just getting away from us, we stop. We turn off the noise. We place our hand on our heart and we ask, what do I need right now to meet my inner child? What does my inner child need? And you can close your eyes and you can picture him or her and let them show you where they're still waiting for you to come home. Where do they need you to validate them? Where do they need you to give them a kind, encouraging word? Where do they need you to give them permission that it was okay to make a mistake, that exactly where we are is fine because that's where we are? Speak to yourself with compassion. You can try this is just something that you could actually say, like to your inner child that I say all the time. Of course you feel this way, and I'm here for you now. I've got you. You don't need a 5-step plan. You need a relationship with yourself that feels safe and true and tender. And when you can tell your inner child, it's okay that you feel mad right now. It's okay that you're disappointed. Or, gosh, I know that he just said that and it made us feel really uncomfortable. I'm going to show up for us. I'm going to use my voice. I'm going to set a boundary. I'm going to do better for you. I'm going to protect you. I'm the only one that you really need. So, here's what I want you to remember. You're not broken. You're programmed. But you're also the programmer now. And you get to choose what stays. You get to rewrite what doesn't serve you. Reparenting is spiritual. It's emotional. It's ancestral. It's physical. And it is a sacred act of resistance. And I want to leave you with this question. What truth have you been holding back because it didn't feel safe to feel or to share? Let that be your starting point, okay? And with that, we wrap up today's first episode of Reparenting Radio. And coming up next week, we're going to be diving, as I said, into the avatar versus the authentic self and how the identity you built to survive may be the thing that is holding you back. Thank you for joining this episode of Reparenting Radio. If it sparks something in you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow cycle breaker. If you want to go deeper, visit my website at reparent-yourself.com for healing tools and programs. And be sure to explore my soul-nourishing children's books at awakentheone.org. Until next time, stay sovereign, speak your truth, and keep reparenting your way home to yourself.